Hello. All right. It seems that we are live. Okay. As always, please let me know if there are any issues with the audio or the video, and then we will start. hmm Hello, hello. Yes. Howdy. Okay. All right. More and more people joining. Sound is good. Okay. Cool. All right. Well, I guess first things first, I would like to say thank you everyone for, well, joining this stream, of course, but also for partaking in the beta. This has been like, this has been a very exciting period. I love working on the games. Doing this beta reminds me how much I love working on these games, and so it's very exciting. I think it's important that I say this because I saw some people that said like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Like you're getting a lot of feedback and some of it is negative and so on and so forth. Like it must suck." And I'm like, "No, no, no. This is awesome. Like all the feedback you get, good or bad, whatever it might be, is really good. It helps make the game what it is." And yeah, I don't know. Like for me, it's exciting. As long as somebody's not like, hey, "Fuck you," then maybe all right. Let's chill with that. But overall, the feedback has been great. I mean, already now for those that have been following the beta, the games or the beta update has changed significantly since its first iteration. And again, this could only happen. Um, this could not happen without the feedback from the community, so it's really cool. For those that were not here last time, quick reminder: this stream is probably going to be pretty long, maybe not as long as last ones, but still pretty long. So there might be snacks, there might be breaks, there might be whatever there might be. So yeah, get ready for a long stream. I'm not going to fully recap the beginning of last stream. So if you want to know, for those that don't know, at the beginning of last stream, we had like a half-hour segment where I basically went over the beta project as a whole. Now we're gonna pretty much, I'm gonna do a small intro, let's say, but we're gonna skip basically into the armies, look at all the armies, and after that, do a Q and A. Um, Right. So general beta stuff. Why are we doing the beta? So every year we release a new update, and for this year we wanted to make a fairly large change to the armies. So we wanted to have a beta period so that people can join in and give us feedback before it goes live. The reason we are doing this update, which is called the Army Rules update, is basically because two of the main feedbacks we've been getting for a long time is number one, all armies feel kind of the same, and number two, some armies are getting more love than others. And so with this update, we basically wanted to address both of those points and give everybody armies that are a little bit more unique and um, make sure that everybody is kind of on the same like equal footing, that everybody gets the cool toys, right? Because before, like, only some armies got cool stuff, and now everybody gets cool stuff. What are the main changes? There are 7 main changes to the armies. There are no changes to the core rules. The game plays exactly the same as always. The main changes are to the armies. So the 7 main points and the 7 main ways that each army changes is: every army has an army special rule that is on all or 99% of its units. Every army has some sort of access to a army rule combo, so some way to enhance the army rule. Every army has access to an army specialty, so it's some sort of rule that lets them do something special and cool. Every army has access to either a mark or a debuff, basically a way to influence the enemy. Every army has access to a unique weapon rule, so a special weapon rule just for them. And finally, every army now has at least 5 or more hero auras, and every army also has had their spell list reworked in such a way that at least half of the spells are 100% related to the army, and the other ones are a little bit from a bigger pool that's a bit more generic. Um, Yeah, that's the main changes. So, as already announced a long time ago when we started this update, one of the important thing for us is always that it's easy for people to transition from one game to the other. So, from Age of Fantasy to Grimdark Future, from the skirmish games to the battle games, and so on and so forth. So, a lot of the stuff that you're gonna see here in the Age of Fantasy armies is stuff you've probably already seen in the Grimdark Future armies. The same way that the special rules are the same, right? So tough is tough, and relentless is relentless, and furious is furious, and so on and so forth. So you'll also see similarities in some of the rules that are in here. But of course, everything's kind of shuffled around to work differently. Final thing about the beta to know is the beta is going to be running until the end of October. So for another 7-ish weeks. This was basically the first week of beta, and already we had so many changes. And then, yeah, after those 7 weeks, it's gonna go live, and that's gonna be v3.5, and it's the new way that we play our games. All right, I think that's it. We are gonna now start looking at the armies. When it comes to the armies, in order to not spend 10 hours here, we're only going to look at the first 5 points. So we're only gonna look at I say only, but we're gonna look at their army rules, their army combos, their army specialty, their mark slash debuff, and their weapon rule. We're not gonna look at every army's auras and spells because that would take too long. All right, I'm gonna share my screen. Last time this kind of crashed the stream, and I hope it doesn't happen this time. So let's see how we fare. All right, this stream seems to still be alive. Let me quickly change. No, that's not what I was trying to do. Aha. All right. Cool. So, oh, sorry. Just one thing. I'm trying to check the comments, but I'm mainly focused on the mainstream. But I just saw comments saying, "Hey, wait, didn't you rename a couple of things like Poison becoming Bane?" Yes, it's true. I forgot to mention this. The core rules, so the way you play the game, is not changing, but some of the core special rules are either being renamed or having some slight changes. For fantasy, I'm trying to think about like which one of the core rules changing makes a true difference. Nothing really, to be honest. It's really more like name changes. So, for example, Poison is now called Bane to be more generic, and Lance is now called Thrust, again to be more generic. And I think that's it. All right. Cool. So, all right. I think now we can start. All right. So we start off with Beastmen, one of our earliest armies that we made models for. Okay. So Beastmen, what is their thing? Their thing is bestial assault. So when they shoot at enemies within half range or when they charge, the target must reroll unmodified defense rolls of 6 when blocking hits. So basically, you know, it's kind of like a mini poison without the ignoring regen. So they're pretty good at killing units. Then they have a combo. Well, let's look a little bit at a couple of units, and maybe that's an easier way to figure things out. Their specialty is coordinated hunt, which basically is tagged for precision attacks. So before the game, you place 2 tokens on it. Like you pick an enemy unit, you place 2 markers on it, and friendly units may remove those markers to get plus 2 to hit rolls or +1 to hit roll per marker that they remove. So basically, at the beginning, you coordinate your hunt, you select who are going to be your targets, and then you get a bonus against those targets. Then you also get your army combo, which is the Holy Trees Avenger. And this is Supreme Bestial Assault. So Bestial Assault usually works on a 6. Now it works on a 5 or a 6. Then you also get, now let me find. All right, Terrorize Prey. This is your army debuff, and it's basically a morale debuff. So you pick an enemy unit within 18 inches, which gets -1 to morale, which is pretty cool because then you can charge them in melee and make sure that they rout. So those are your first 4 things already. Oh wait, yeah, that's actually pretty fast. I keep forgetting that this goes much faster than I usually think. All right, so then their last thing is wait, am I going crazy? No, so yes, their army rule. We looked at their rules combo. We looked at their specialty. We looked at their debuff. Okay, cool. And now we're looking at their special weapons, which is flame forged weapons. Flame forged weapons have the tear rule. Basically, when you're attacking somebody with tough 3, or attacking a unit where most models have tough 3, it gets AP 2. So, for example, the Kemba Brutes with their flame forged great weapons become AP 4, which is pretty strong and allows you to destroy, those pesky ogres very easily. All right, that's it. That's Beastmen. Now moving on to the next army, which is Chivalrous Kingdoms. All right, Chivalrous Kingdoms. Interesting army. So their army special rule is a veil formation. So this model gets +6 inch range when shooting and moves +3 inches when using charge actions. Basically, they can charge even further, which is pretty good. They're a mostly cavalry army, which means already now you're charging like you usually would charge 12. Now you're a cavalry army, you charge 16. Now you have the veil formation, you're charging 19. And they also have a bunch of like different longbows and bowmen and stuff like that, which get +6 inch range. So now your longbows actually shoot at 36 inches. So really, you're trying to like pester the enemy with your bows from afar, and then get in on the charge. You really don't want them to get too close, or rather, you want to finish them off, as far as possible from you. That's how you make your advantages work. Then you also get. Now let's go and find them. We have the Peasant's Oath. So peasant units have the Peasant's Oath, which basically gives them precision growth. So at the beginning of every round, so after you place them at the beginning, starting at the beginning of the next round, you place a marker every round on the peasants until a max of 2 markers, and for each marker they get +1 to hit rolls. So basically, peasants are like they're gonna slowly get better as they go on in the fight. But of course, if the unit is ever shaken, which with the quality 5, it's not great. They are gonna lose all their markers. So yes, if somebody leaves your peasants alone, awesome. But if they don't, you know, you get screwed over. Then we also get, let's check it out. We also get the Strength of the Huntress, which basically is our Supreme Veil formation. So now you get to shoot up to 12 inches and charge up to 12 inches more and charge up to 6 inches more. So now you just went from a 19-inch charge to a, hold on, am I right? From a 19-inch charge to a 21-inch charge? 19, 20, 22-inch charge? Sorry, 22-inch charge, which, is pretty good. I have to say this, I'm not 100% sure about its cost. All the costs are a little bit wonky right now because, we're still in beta. But yes, so you basically get even better at your charges. Then you also have the yes, it's on the right. You also have the protection of the huntress. You basically mark an enemy for counterattack. This is the first time we're seeing a mark now in fantasy. So how does a mark work? You basically pick an enemy unit, and friendly units get something against them. So in this case, friendly units get counterattack against a specific unit. So if you think, look, I'm going to charge my cavalry into this unit and destroy it, but there is this other unit that's going to countercharge me and they're gonna destroy me, then you can put protection of the huntress on that unit, and basically when they countercharge, you get counterattack, so you get to strike first, which is pretty good. So a little combo that you can do there, and combine your things. All right, so that was pretty much all your basic stuff. Then, what is their army special weapon? It is the monster hunting weapon. So in this case, it's a monster hunting lance, which basically have the puncture rule. Puncture rule is against units where most models have to have 3. This weapon gets AP 3. So again, pretty good to destroy monsters. Okay, cool. That is, yep, that is all of your stuff. Um, yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple. Actually, because we didn't see this at the beginning of the fantasy stream, let me quickly show you. So, for example, before I think the Chivalrous Kingdoms only had like two hero auras, and now you can see that they have like way more than before, and they actually have different auras depending on which hero you take, which is pretty cool. And then also their spells, you can see that their first spell has Supreme Veil Formation, so it's specific to their army. Their second spell has Puncture, which is again specific to their army. And then also we have the Curse of the Huntress here, which gives counter attack, which again is specific to the army. So we can see how spell lists have also become more specific to the armies. All right, then let's move on to Dark Elves. Dark Elves, what's their thing? Harassing is their rule. So basically, units where most model have this rule may move up to 3 inches after shooting or being in melee. Dark Elves, they're kind of like pirates in our game. Um, they have a bunch of units that can shoot. They have a bunch of like crossbows and handbows and stuff like that, so you can shoot and then move. And then, of course, they have lots of melee units who can then move 3 further inches after being in melee. So, for example, if you attack an enemy and you destroy them in melee, then you get your 3 inch move plus your harassing rule. That's a 6 inch move, which could be very good to then, like, block another charge or move onto an objective or something like that. Then, in terms of their special rules, we have boarding attack, which is advancing strike. So when the unit ends their move, their advance or rush move within 6 inches of enemies, you pick one of the enemies, roll as many dice as models on a 6+, or for each 6+, they take one hit with AP1. So this is really good, especially here. Like, you have these dark handbows; they have like a really short range of 9 inches. Ideally, you want to advance within 6 inches of the enemy. You do your advancing strike, you already kill a couple guys that way, and then you shoot, and that's a good combo to do with this army. Actually, since we're already here, we can also look at their special weapon, which is, of course, the dark style weapon. So dark handbows, dark crossbow, dark, whatever, which basically have lacerate. So the target must reroll unmodified defense results of 6. It's kind of like a half poison. And then we have Executioner. Oh, sorry. Then we have Looting Frenzy, which in this case is on the Executioners, which basically is a Ruinous Frenzy. What does this mean? Whenever the unit destroys an enemy unit, for each, you place a marker on this unit. For each marker, you get +1 to hit and +1 defense until the end of the game, up to a max of +2. So basically, as if you have a unit that's really good at killing, they go in, they do the killing blow, they get stronger, they kill another unit, they get even stronger. So, as they kill more units, they become better at fighting. Of course, it also means that usually as you keep fighting, you're losing more models, so it kind of balances out. But yes, that is your looting frenzy. And finally, let's take a look at the mark, which is the aura of pain, which is marked for batter. So you pick an enemy unit which friendly units get batter against. So when you attack that unit in melee, you roll as many dice as models. For each 6, they take one hit with AP1, similar actually to the advancing strike. But now this works actually on the charge. So it's a way to give you even more hits when you are charging. All right, cool. So that is Dark Elves. Let's take a look at Deep Sea Elves, another faction of elves. The Deep Sea Elves, they have the Wave Step. Wave Step, when this unit is activated, you may place all models with this rule in it anywhere fully within 3 inches of their position. So basically, they get to do like a little teleport when they activate. So a very mobile army. Then what do they get? They get the Wave Strike. That they're kind of similar slash different, I guess, than the Dark Elves, but very similar. Wave Strike, it's retreating strike. So when this model ends its move after being in melee within 3 inches of enemy units, pick one of them and roll one die per model, of course. On a 6+, it takes one hit with AP1. So basically, you charge in after the melee. You do your little retreat. And now, if you end up within 3 inches of the same unit or another unit, now you can deal more hits, which is pretty good. Then we have the Deep Sea Passage, which is ambush redeployment. So once per game, when a unit where all models have this rule ends its activation, you may immediately remove it from the table and deploy it as if it had ambush at the beginning of the next round. So essentially, you pick up the unit, you just whoop, take it off from the table, and then ambush it again. So maybe you're fighting on one side of the board, and then you realize like, I could really use these guys there, and then you just take them out, boom, you place them again, and they have this very like kind of crazy style of fighting. Um, then their special weapon is barbed, or their barbed weapons are the ones that have their weapon rule, which is a thrash. Against units where most models have defense 5 up or worse, this weapon gets blast 3. So these weapons are okay against a defense 4 or better unit, but against defense 5 or worse, which is infantry, they kind of like spread. They're net catchers, right? They're like big nets. So they're good against like an infantry unit or a basic infantry unit, but they're not good against like some heavily armored soldiers. Finally, we are going to look at the where is it? So we saw this, we saw that. Let me find it. Oh, where is it? Ooh, okay. So their army debuff is constricting kelp, which basically is an unwieldy debuff. So you pick one enemy unit within 18 inches, which gets unwieldy in melee once. So basically, you pick the enemy, and they strike last when charging, which is pretty good if you're trying to basically mess with the enemy. Again, you kind of know like, okay, those guys are probably going to charge me, or maybe I want to make the enemy's choices harder, so I will say, hey, that enemy now has unwieldy, and now they're kind of like, who do I charge? Like my unit's going to strike last, and they have to weigh their options. All right, that is the Deep Sea Elves, a really freaky, moving around, jumping around kind of army. Then Duchies of Vinci, one of our original armies. So Duchies of Vinci, pretty simple. They have Vinci Tech. This model gets +1 to hit rolls when shooting at enemies over half of its weapons range away, or when charging. So shooting far or charging, you get +1 to hit rolls. They use their superior tech essentially at range to become better. That's their basic thing. Then we have one of their special rules. This is their army specialty, is the marker flare drone. So they now have marker flare drones. They already had drones in the army, but this is a new type of drone, which basically gives them precision spotter. So it's essentially like from the Dow, but you pick an enemy unit within 36 inches in line of sight. You roll a die. On a 4-up, you place a marker on it. Friendly units may remove the marker when shooting to get +1 to hit rolls or +X to hit rolls, where depending on how many markers they use. So this is another good thing where it's like, okay, you have your little marker flare drone. It shoots at a target, like it shoots its flare at a target. It marks it, and now you can shoot at it with another unit and get a bonus to hit them. Cool. Then we have. Oh, look, there is a mistake here. Let me take a quick note. Okay, good. This is why we have the beta. Then we have, hold on, let me try and find it. Then we have the spotting scope, which basically is marked for piercing shooting. So you pick an enemy unit within 18 inches, and friendly units get AP1 when shooting against it. So actually, you can kind of do multiple combos here, right? So you could mark a unit to get +1 to hit. You could then mark it to get AP +1, and then shoot at it, ideally over half your weapons range away, and then you have +2 to hit and AP1. Of course, it's a big combo to set up, but if you have to destroy, if somebody has built a Death Star type of unit, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna focus on that unit and destroy it. All right, and then we have, I think it's on the tank. Yes. So on the various vehicles, we have explosive ammo, which is their army combo, which basically gives them supreme Vinci tech. This model gets +2 to hits rolls from Vinci tech. So you basically give explosive ammo to your guys, and now they're even better than before. Finally, for their special weapon, they have Slayer bolts. So they have various crossbows across the army that have Slayer bolts. Yeah, and they basically have decimate. So against units where most models have defense 3 up or better, this weapon gets AP 2. So they're pretty good at destroying, heavily armored troops or monsters and stuff like that. All right, cool. That was Vinci. Now moving on to the dwarves. Dwarves, which we are currently releasing on Patreon, so make sure to check them out. Cool models. All right, what do dwarves get? So their main rule is sturdy, pretty basic. When you are being shot at or charged from over 9 inches away, you get +1 to defense rolls. Dwarves, sturdy, easy. Then we have some units that have the Rune of Power, which is basically Devastating Frenzy. So whenever you destroy an enemy unit, you place a marker on them. For each marker, you get AP +1 and +1 to defense rolls, up to a max of +2. So as you kill more units, you become stronger. We also have units that have Coal Shielding, which basically gives them supremely sturdy, so they get +2 defense from sturdy. So, you know, pretty nice. If you want your berserkers to be more survivable, this is a good way to do it. Of course, it's only from over 9 inches away. And then we have, let's find the last one. I assume maybe it's gonna be on the the Rune of Protection. So, Rune of Protection is a shooting range debuff. So, you pick an enemy unit within 18 inches, which gets -6 inch range when shooting, which basically allows you to kind of like control how much the enemy can decimate you from afar whilst you are slow. It's a way to basically counter your slowness. Then, for your special weapons, now to find it. I don't remember. Yes, it's the runic weapons. So, runic weapons or runic hammers, I think most of the time they're hammers. Runic weapons basically have the pound rule, which ignores regeneration. Pretty cool. And on unmodified results of 1 to block hits, this weapon deals 1 extra wound. So, not only does it deal extra wounds on ones, they can also not be regenerated. So, pretty strong. Pound them. And I think that's it for the dwarves. Then Eternal Wardens, our big sturdy boys. So Eternal Wardens, they get the Alabaster Shielding. When they are shot at or charged from over 9 inches away, enemy hits get AP -1. So they're more resilient against AP. So if somebody's using rifles, if somebody's using crossbows and they hit the rending, right? If somebody is using, all the various artillery pieces that are in the game, pistols, all the type of stuff that has AP, some magical weapons, they basically get to be more defensive against those. Then we have the Warding Prayer, which gives you Supreme Alabaster Shielding, which basically is a -2 against AP. So even better shielding. And then you can also upgrade certain models with a Vengeful Banner. And the Vengeful Banner is a Defiant Piercing aura. What is Defiant Piercing? Defiant Piercing basically means, oh, hold on, I have to hide this little thing. Defiant Piercing basically means that when this unit passes a morale test that could cause it to be shaken or routed. So you're in melee, you've been shot at, whatever, and you are either shaken, you could have been shaken or routed, but you passed that morale test. This model gets AP +2 when attacking once. So basically, yeah, it's defiant, right? So you've been shot at, you're struggling, but you manage to pull through, and you're like, and now you get a bonus against the enemy, which I thought was pretty fun. And then we have. To find that one. Stormcaller. Stormcaller is their debuff, which in this case is a speed debuff. You pick an enemy unit within 18 inches, which moves -2 inches when using advanced action and -4 inches when using rush or charge actions. Basically, it's slow. So you basically give an enemy unit slow, again, allowing you to kind of get a better control of the battle. All right, that's about it for their special rules. Oh, look at this. Lightning Beacon. Designate for piercing attacks. Before the game begins, pick X enemy units. Friendly units get AP1 when attacking them. Pretty cool. So before the game, pick an enemy unit and you get AP1. All right. Um, Hold on, I'm trying to find. Yes. So the thunder weapons. Thunder weapons have the smash rule. What is a smash rule? It ignores regeneration, and on unmodified results of 6 to hit, those hits get blast 3. Which basically means that you roll your 3 dice. Hey, you get a 6. Suddenly, your AP1 ignores regen hits. Become a blast 3 hit, so it can chew through infantry or through units. Okay, cool. So that is our Eternal Wardens. Now checking out the Ghostly Undead. The Ghostly Undead are an interesting one. So they have two things. So we have kind of simplified their profile. Before they had like a bunch of different rules and stuff like that that were interacting, and we've slightly simplified it. So Ethereal. How does Ethereal work now? Ethereal is pretty simple. You may move through friendly and enemy units. Done. That's what Ethereal helps to do. So usually in the game, you cannot move through units unless you are flying, and this is a different type of thing than flying. But please note, it does not help you in moving through terrain anymore. Also, when taking a wound that is not from a spell, important, roll a die on a 6+, it is ignored. So it's a small region that you get, but not against spells because they're kind of like easily to be spelled away. Then they get their actual army special rule, which is the Empyrean Spirit, which is enemies get -1 to hit rolls when shooting or charging them from over 9 inches away. So, as long as you're far, it's hard to hit them. Once you get close, it gets easier. Then what do they get? We have Soul Eater. Soul Eater gives them critical precision. So when a unit where all models have this rule activated, you may roll 1 die. On a 4-up, they get +1 to hit rolls until the end of the round. Okay, but on a 6, they get +2 instead. So it's kind of like a little almost gambling mechanic. But if you hit that 6, of course, it's amazing. If you don't, pretty good. If you roll a 1 or 3, hope for next time. Then we have a Vanishing Ghost on some units, which gives you the Supreme Empyrean Spirit, which is -2 to hit from Empyrean Spirit, so from over, from over 9 inches away, which they kind of need because they have only defense 6. Then we have. Okay, we checked out that. Okay, we have Eternal Haunt, which is marked for Shred. So you pick an enemy unit within 18 inches, and friendly units get Shred against it. Shred is on unmodified results of 1 to block hits. It deals an extra wound. Pretty good. So you mark them, you attack them, they roll once, they take more wounds. All right, that is all their basic stuff. Now let me find their cool weapons. Am I missing? Oh, sorry, it's right here. Scythes, or in this case, a scythe crew, but scythes in general have the reap rule, which is not the old reap rule. Forget about what that used to do. That's now shred. The reap rule now is against units where most models have defense 4-up or better. This weapon gets AP1. So they've come to reap, medium to elite units. All right, nice. So that is our Ghostly Undead. I'm very curious to see how these guys are going to be on the table. Then we have Giant Tribes. Pretty basic. They now have delayed action. So once per round, if your opponent has more units left to activate than you, then this unit may pass its turn instead of activating. So you basically can kind of, giant armies usually have very few models, and this allows you to slightly delay your activations. Also, your giants can now be upgraded with Patient Wanderer, which basically gives you an additional action delay per round. Pretty basic. All right, then we move on to goblins. Unlike me, goblins. All right, goblins. They have mischievous. Mischievous. When the small shoots at enemies within half of its range or charges, targets must reroll unmodified defense results of 6. So it's kind of like a half poison, which is pretty cool. Then let's check out what other stuff they get. They get the Clan Alliance banner, which gives them supremely mischievous, which basically means you get mischievous on 5s and 6s, which is pretty cool. It says right here that it's free. Obviously, this means that there is a bug, so we will have to check it out. Actually, let me take a note just in case. Let's see. Okay, cool. Then we have no, not the Goblin Herder. Hold on. They already have a bunch of cool stuff. I'm trying to find the new things. Untamed Fury. This is one of their new rules. Untamed Fury basically gives them instinctive. This is on trolls, where when the unit is activated, if it is able to shoot or charge an enemy, then it must attack the close value target, and you get +1 to it for those attacks. So, basically, you kind of want to move your trolls in range of enemies. When they activate, boom, they are forced to charge a unit, so your enemy can kind of mess with you a bit, but you get +1 to hit, making your trolls stronger. Then they get Sniff Out Threat, which is marked for Bloodthirsty. What does that mean? You pick an enemy within 18 inches, friendly units get Bloodthirsty against it. Bloodthirsty is when they block hits on a 1, for each 1 that they roll to block, they get 1 extra hit. So nice. A good way to deal extra hits. Finally, looking at their new special weapons. Their new special weapon is to be found. No. They are their skewer bolts. So skewer bolts, which are not just on the crossbows, they're around. Skewer bolts, basically, they have the skewer rule. Skewer rule means on an unmodified result of 6 to hit, those hits get deadly 3. Which basically it's pretty cool because they have rending and they have um, they have a skewer, so you roll 6, and now you have basically an AP4 deadly 3 weapon. Of course, it has its limitations. You must roll it. You don't have as many shots, and you only can take 1. So, it has its uses. All right, so that is their special weapon, and with that, we have checked out everything. Nice. By the way, for those that have checked out last stream, we spoke a lot about certain armies that had like major changes, but we don't really have any army in fantasy that had any like major changes to it. So uh, everything else you can kind of imagine to be the same. There are some small changes. Yeah, I'm just bringing this because, for example, we now have something called the traversal rule, which basically helps us make sure that, for example, the fanatics, make a little bit more sense if you cannot bound over the enemy, um, stuff like that, essentially. All right. Halflings. All right. So, what do halflings have? They have lucky. That's kind of like their theme. So, when they shoot or within half of their when they shoot within half range or when they charge on unmodified results of 6 to hit, they deal an extra hit. You're lucky. Then they have access to Ragtag Warrior, which basically gives them covered piercing. What is covered piercing? Whilst most models are within 1 inch of terrain, okay, you get AP +1. All right, nice. So you kind of want to stay near terrain. You kind of want to stay in your forest. You want to stay in your fields. That's kind of like where they're good. Then we have the 5-leaf clover, which gives you a supremely lucky aura. So lucky usually happens on a 6. You get an extra hit, right? But supremely lucky means you get it on a 5 or a 6. So even luckier. Then we have hold on to find it now. Then we have the oh, look at this, another little bug. Okay. Then they have their mark, which is Terrifying Firework. It's a morale debuff. So you pick an enemy within 18 inches, which gets -1 to morale. I kind of like the idea that they're basically shooting firework that's, maybe it turns into a dragon and scares the enemy away. For their special weapon or special weapons, they have, yes, I think it's these. Who has it besides them? Townfolk? Sorry, just curious. Aha. So improvised explosives. So they have it on I guess on the artillery. Oh yes, they also have crush. Anyway, sorry. So improvised explosive. Basically, they get the crush rule. What is the crush rule? On a 6 to hit, those hits get a blast 3. So you want to throw your improvised explosives at um, infantry units and hope that you roll sixes. Which, by the way, you have all your things that kind of like trigger on sixes. So lucky, extra lucky, you get better, and then you get blast 3. All right, cool. So that was the halflings. Unfortunately, an army that's not played much. I hope that maybe one day in the future, when we make models for them, more people are going to play them. All right, Havoc Dwarves. Oh, I see more and more people join the stream. By the way, hello everyone. All right, Havoc Dwarves. They are Havoc bound, so they're gonna be very much like the Havoc Warriors. But let's look at them. We're basically gonna look kind of like at the same thing twice, but still, so you know. So Havoc Blessing, AP +1 when shooting within half the range or when charging. All right, we know this. Then you get the Icon of Havoc, which is Piercing Assault. So basically, get AP +1 when. What? Wait. Uh, I'm gonna need to double check this. Sorry, because this seems wrong as well. Piercing Assault gives them AP +1, but they already get AP +1. Good that we checked them. All right, so they're gonna get something else for the Icon of Havoc, and their Havoc favor is Reckless Courage, which basically is when the unit is activated, roll a die. On a 2-up, they get +1 to morale, pretty nice. But on a 1, enemies get +1 to morale against them. Then we have some. Let's find them. Uh-huh. Then we have Abyssal Targeting, which is marking for ignores cover. The Havoc Dwarves have a bunch of units that can shoot, and so you basically can pick an enemy unit within 18 inches, which you can ignore cover against. Very good to take out those, like, maybe like wood elves that are hiding in a forest and shooting, and stuff like that. Okay, we looked at those things. Now let's find the new special weapons, which are on. Yes, which are the hex weapons. So in this case, it's a hex rifle, but there's also hex shotguns. They have purge. What is purge? Ignores regeneration. All right, and an unmodified result of 6 to hit that aren't blocked, it deals 1 extra wound. So you ignore regen, you roll your 6, you get extra wound. Nice. Again, don't forget that stuff is bugged. So right now it says -10 points. So we're going to fix that. All right, Havoc Warriors. Here we are going to be looking at a bunch of them. These are very similar to Grimdark Future, of course. So, all right, so Havoc Blessing, again, AP +1 when you are shooting or charging. Then some units have the Summon Tendril rule, which basically gives a dangerous terrain debuff. So you pick an enemy unit which counts as being in dangerous terrain. Very good against, for example, cavalry or anybody else that is trying to get up close. Then they have an Icon of Havoc and Havoc Favor, which works exactly like um, with the Havoc Dwarves. For their specialty weapon, they basically have barbed weapons, and barbed weapons have the slam rule. They ignore cover, and on a unmodified result of 1 to block hits, they deal 1 extra hit. So more hits for everybody involved. We then, of course, have the various different disciples. So we have the Change Blessing, which is -1 to hit rolls when being shot at or charged from over 9 inches away. Pretty simple, similar to what they currently have. Then we have Lust, which gives them the Lust Blessing, which is +1 inch when charging. When advancing, and +2 inches when charging. A little bit less than what they currently have, but still a pretty good speed buff. Then we have the Plague Disciples, which have the Plague Blessing, which is pretty much what you know and love. When taking a wound, roll 1 die on a 6-up, it is ignored. And then finally, we have the War Blessing on the Disciples of War. So when you shoot at enemies within half range, or when you charge them, when they roll, basically the enemies that roll to block hits, for each result of 1, they take 1 extra hit. So more hits for you. And that is about it. Yes, that was our Havoc factions. Now, I feel like I've gotten good at this. Like we're going really fast. I mean, fantasy has more armies, but still, we are halfway through already. All right. High elves. What do the high elves have? They have a noble advance, move +1 inch when advancing, and +2 inches when rushing or charging. Nice. So they get a little bit of a speed buff. Then they also have the Highborn banner, which basically gives them supremely noble advance. So it means that you move +2 and +4. You go even faster. Some weapons have magical slowing, which is the unwieldy debuff. So you pick an enemy unit and it gets unwieldy, so they strike last. Also pretty nice. And then finally, we have magical weakening, which is tagging for piercing attacks. So you pick an enemy unit that basically becomes weaker, and so your attacks get AP against them. Of course, like you have to place the markers, and then you remove the markers to get the bonus. Finally, for their oh yeah, this is actually a new thing that I decided to add for the high elves, which is volley fire on their archers, which gives them indirect when shooting. I thought it would be a cool thing for them. Yes, their specialty weapon is mastercrafted weapons. In this case, we are looking at mastercrafted bows, which have the crack rule. On an unmodified result of 6 to hit, those hits get AP1. So a little AP bonus for you. The mastercrafted bows, less range, but the chance to get AP1. All right. And I think that is about it for. Yes. Yes, that's about it for the High Elves. Then, looking at the Human Empire. Human Empire, okay, this is an army that actually got a bit of an update to actually help people transition a bit better from Grimdark Future HDF to Human Empire in Age of Fantasy. So first off, all the humans get hold the line. Hold the line +1 more to morale test rolls. So a little bit more morale for the humies. Then some units get the Banner of the Great Empire, which gives them a courageous aura. So another +1 to morale test. So you get this banner, you're now basically at morale 3+, which is pretty good for your humies. Then this is an interesting thing. Some hero yes, some heroes now have buffs instead of auras, so like a fast buff or a piercing fighter buff. And I think those are the two main buffs that they have right now. And then you also have the we'll look at that in a second. Basically, you have different buffs now, and now they can actually take a message runner, which basically is like the radio from Grimdark Future. So if you have a hero in the unit which has a buff, so something that targets a unit within 12 inches, and you want to target another unit that has a message runner, you can target a unit within 24 inches. So you each have a little message runner. They're bringing messages along, and that way you can target them. This works, like I said, for the fast buff and, of course, the piercing fire buff. But we also have the general, which is a new thing for them, which gives them coordinate, which basically is at the end of this unit's activation, you pick another friendly unit within 12 inches that hasn't activated yet, and it may be activated immediately. So you basically coordinate. Of course, you cannot activate another unit with coordinate to chain coordinate, but it's a cool way to do that. Actually, I just noticed something that I want to point out. So we have engineers across the game that before they had the artillery rule. The artillery rule has been changed, of course, as you can see, the costs are broken. But the what is changing? Artillerist is gone. It was very hard to balance. Instead, they now have the reposition rule. So once per activation, pick one friendly unit within 12 inches within mobile, which is your artillery pieces, which may immediately move by up to 6 inches. So it's kind of like half of what artillerists used to do. So essentially, your engineer can now help you, reposition your artillery and get a better shot. Maybe move it slowly across the field. Whatever you want to do with your artillery. All right, then we have Empire Bounty. Empire Bounty, Mark 4 Precision Fighting. Once per activation, pick one enemy unit within 18 inches, which friendly units get +1 to hit rolls in melee against, which is pretty nice for the Fanatics. It basically allows them to, to get +1 to hit in melee. Then, so we saw that. We saw the message runner. We saw the banner of the Great Empire. We saw the general. Okay, I think that's all their main stuff. Yes, the final thing that they get is their weapon, which is a fire powder style weapons. Fire powder style weapons have the fracture rule on unmodified results of 6 to hit. Those hits get AP2. So essentially, they're kind of like a rifle that has a bit of a risk reward thing. Instead of having AP1, you get AP2, but it's on a 6. So, something there. All right, cool. Cool. All right. Then, Kingdom of Angels. Kingdom of Angels has been changed a little bit, but still there. So, what do they have that's different? Angelic Blessing now basically gives you +1 to defense against shooting and charges from over 9 inches away, which is a little bit different than what they have now, but still pretty nice. So, the angels have blessed you. Then the various angels actually get to do cool stuff. So the angels now you can have angelic protectors, which basically give you a supremely angelic blessing. So instead of getting +1 to your defense, you get +2 to your defense. So pretty nice. They can help bless their subjects, I suppose. Or you can also have an angelic benefactor, which gives you a versatile attack buff. So pick a unit that gets versatile attack, which basically means you pick to either get AP +1 when attacking or +1 to hit rolls when attacking, which depending on the situation, one might be better than the other. And basically all the angels can do these. We also have Heretic Spotter. This is a new mark for them, which is marked for indirect. So you pick on an enemy unit within 18 inches, which friendly units get indirect against. So the Kingdom of Angels have a bunch of units that can take crossbows and stuff like that. I'm trying to find. I'm pretty sure we also like you have the crossbows on the marksman, but we also added some. I don't remember where now. Whatever. They have a bunch of shooting, and with that shooting now, you can actually shoot indirect, so through units, through cover and stuff like that, which is pretty good. And then their special weapon is blessed style weapons, or their special weapons are blessed style weapons, and blessed style weapons get chop, and chop basically means on an unmodified result of 1 to block hits, this weapon deals 1 extra hit. So a way to get extra hit. Cool. Okay, so that is your Kingdom of Angels. All right. All right, Mummified Undead. Mummified Undead are. Oh, sorry. I guess I should say this. We quickly skipped it with the Ghostly Undead, but one part of this update is that we removed army-wide undead from the game, and now instead they can upgrade heroes to have the no retreat rule, which is basically the different name for undead. So if you want your Ghostly Undead to still have undead, in this case no retreat, you can still do it, but now you have to do it via the heroes. Mummified Undead, an interesting army. So they get Royal Resolve. What does this mean? This model gets +1 to morale test rolls. Interesting. So they don't have undead anymore, which now is called no retreat. But they do get a morale boost. I thought this was an interesting thing to try out on one of the um, undead armies to basically, it's not the same as undead, but kind of mimic this idea of like, hey, they will hold points and they will not run away so quickly. Okay, so that is your army rule. Then we have some units that get the Tomb Queen's banner. Oh, look at this. Why are there two different things? Something wrong. Hold on. Okay, the names are wrong. Well, anyway, so some units get the Tomb Queen's banner, which gives a courageous aura, so they get +1 to morale test rolls. Again, I need to double check these. And then some units also get the Tomb Queen's banner. Again, same name, which gives supremely vicious assault. This is a broken old rule. That's what's happening. This is why we have the beta. Oh. Okay, the correct one, of course, is the Courageous Aura. So you basically can get even better morale. So again, they don't have no retreat anymore, but they have a way to get their morale mitigation. All right, then we have some units that have a Spotting Vulture. And a Spotting Vulture basically gives you Piercing Spotter. So it's essentially it's kind of like the Precision Spotter, right? You pick a unit, you roll a die, and then on a 4-up, it's marked, and this time it's marked to get AP. So that's pretty good. So you're gonna mark that unit, and you're attacking it, and you get piercing, and that's really nice. Um, then we have, their special weapons are cursed weapons. So in this case, a cursed bow, which has perforate, ignores cover. This is similar to what they currently had, but of course, slightly different. Ignores cover, which they had before, and unmodified results of 6 to hit that aren't blocked. This weapon deals 1 extra wound. Pretty nice curse. And then, yes, Curse of Stone is their mark, which is mark for fortified. So once per activation, pick one enemy within 18 inches, which friendly units get fortified against. So basically, you get you pick an enemy unit that has great weapons or some other AP weapons, and when they attack, we are gonna get, or well, your units get fortified. So, sorry, it's essentially a -1 AP to the enemy. That's the way. All right, cool. All right, so we looked at those things. Yeah, okay, so that's it. That's your Mummified Undead. Um, an interesting army in that it is still some sort of morale mitigation um, in fantasy. Okay, ogres. So ogres, what's their thing? They have the Devour rule, different from the current Devour rule. That rule has been renamed. Devour, when this model shoots at enemies within half range or when charging, unmodified results of 6 to hit that aren't blocked deal 1 extra wound. So, pretty strong. Then we have the Great Feast upgrade, which is Supreme Devourer. So, you get Devour on 5s and 6s. Even better. And then that's Supreme Devour. Then some units have Ice Conduit, which is critical defense. And look at this. This is meant to be an aura. Uh, okay. Ice Conduit. Critical defense. When you activate the unit, roll a die. On a 4-up, they get +1 defense. On a 6, they get +2 defense. Pretty nice. So it's an extra defensive buff. And then we have Intimidating Roar, which is mark for Fearless. So you pick an enemy unit, and friendly units get Fearless against that unit, which is also pretty cool. So once that unit, so they're kind of intimidated. So yeah, maybe they manage to deal a couple wounds and get you to take a morale test, but you are fearless against that morale test. They're not that scary. All right, and then finally, their weapons. Let's find them. Their special weapons are jagged weapons. Yes, I can see it here. So jagged weapons basically have the ravage rule on a 6 to hit that isn't blocked. It deals 2 extra wounds. Scary, scary. Yeah, that is your jagged weapons. Okay, cool. Then we move on to orcs. Orcs, again, to make a similar transition between fantasy and sci-fi, we are keeping them pretty similar. So they have ferocious, shoot an enemy within half, or charge them. On a 6-2 hit, you deal an extra hit. Very nice. Then some of them get the Iron Banner. The Iron Banner gives you a piercing feet aura. So once per game, the unit gets AP plus 2. Okay, nice. Then we have some units get the Bone Banner, which gives you supremely ferocious. So ferocious on a 5 or a 6. Okay, extra hits. And then we have War Cry, which is Mark for Bash. So you pick an enemy unit within 18 inches, friendly units get Bash against it. Bash is when you charge in melee or when you attack them in melee, you roll a die for each model, and on a 6, you deal a wound. So pretty nice for combos. Finally, we have Impaler weapons. Impaler weapons have the Impale rule, which is against units where most models have tough 3, you get deadly 3. So pretty good to fight, to kill ogres, for example, but not perfectly good to kill um, a monster. All right, nice. Orcs, pretty simple. Ossified Undead, another interesting. All right, so Ossified. So Ossified is when attacked by enemy units from over 9 inches away, they get AP -1. Nice, they're Ossified. They are more, they're harder to damage. Then some of them get Eternal Duty, which gives them supremely Ossified, so AP -2. Okay, even more resilient. Then some of them get the Unstoppable Husk rule, which basically gives them Reckless Viciousness. So on a 2-up, enemies must reroll defense results of 6, but on a 1, you must reroll those defense results instead. So risk reward. And then we have Dead Nightmare, which is your mark, and it's mark for stealth. So pick an enemy unit, and friendly units get stealth against that unit. So pretty good if somebody's shooting at you from afar, and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna give them a nightmare, and we are gonna get stealth against those shots. For their special weapon, they have a bone style weapons, which have destructive. So on unmodified results of 6 to hit, those hits get AP4. Pretty good. All right, nice. That is Ossified Undead. We move on to the Ratman. All right. Ratman get the Realm Defender rule. Realm Defender is basically when you roll a 6 to hit, you can roll an extra attack. So roll more attacks. Then they have the Godmother's Blessing, which gives you Supreme Realm Defender. So on a 5 or a 6, you get extra attacks, which is pretty nice. We also have some models that get. Hold on, trying to find it. Okay. Some models get Horde of Rats, which basically gives them the reinforcement rule. This is pretty unique for the rats. So, when a unit where all models have this rule is shaken or fully destroyed, you may remove it from the table as destroyed and place a new copy of it fully within 12 inches of any table edge at the beginning of the next round. And this rule doesn't apply to the newly placed models, so you cannot just chain it. And of course, also the reinforcement unit cannot seize or contest objectives. But I like the idea that here basically you have swarms of rats. I think this is on the rat swarm and the giant rats, and I think on the rat ogres. So you have these kind of like, let's say, wilder units, and they get to basically respawn essentially. Okay, cool. Um, Okay, I'm thinking. Hold on. Wait, did we just check it out? That's the reinforcement. Aha! Spotter Rat! That's their final thing. So Spotter Rat basically gives a defense debuff. You pick an enemy unit within 18 inches, which gets -1 to defense. I guess you're spotting the chinks in their armor. Okay, their specialty of the weapons is basically overtuned. So overtuned weapons have hazardous. They get AP4. Okay, pretty strong in fantasy. But whenever you roll a 1, you take a wound. So, the weapon is overtuned and maybe it breaks down and damages you. Cool, that is Ratman. Then Rift Demons. So Rift Demons, they're working exactly like they work in sci-fi, right? That's how our demons work, but we can quickly take a look at them for fantasy fans. So all right, so we have change demons, they have the change blessing. So okay, hold on. I guess we need to talk about this a bit more in depth because a bunch of stuff has changed. And if you haven't seen the Grimdark video, then you won't know. So first off, the demon special rule has been removed. Instead, what you now get is a bunch of heroes can now get the where is it? They can get the demonic incursion rule, which is an ambush aura. So you can still ambush with them, but it's an aura that you need to buy. Furies now also have the scout rule. So you have some rules, some units that can still scout, and usually every army also has one more unit that can scout. So in the case of change, I think it is the Screechers. The Screechers can scout as well. Then demons have been changed in such a way that now they actually get a bunch of auras, which is cool because you didn't have auras before, so it's important. And then you also have a bunch of other things. So let's check it out. So change blessing -1 to hit rolls. Okay, we've seen this before. Then some units can take the banner of change, which gives them a bounding aura. So basically, you can bound. So it helps you move around. The idea is that they're kind of like shifting and moving and appearing and disappearing. Then you have the gift of change. But wait, the gift of change, they already had it, I think, because they already had the gifts. Did you know? No, gift of change is new for them. Yes, it used to be called a boon. Sorry. The gift of change, spell accumulator. So at the beginning of each round, you get X tokens, in this case 1, but you can't hold more than 6 tokens at once. So these are spell tokens. Other friendly casters within 12 inches may spend the small spell tokens as if they were theirs. So essentially, the model becomes a sort of little pool of spell tokens on its own, but it cannot cast with those tokens. For their curse, the curse of change is a casting debuff. You pick an enemy unit within 18 inches with caster, which gets -1 to casting rolls. Pretty easy. And that's about it. That's all their thing, right? And then the casting debuff, spell accumulator, the favor. Huh. Yeah, cool. Okay, nice. So that is your change demons. Now let's take a look at lust demons. So lust demons, they have the lust blessing, which is +1 inch move on advance and +2 inches on charge. So not as fast as before, but still they are the fast ones. Then some of them can take the banner of lust, which gives them strider. Nice. Some of them get the gift of lust, which gives them retaliate. This is the old acid rule. I think that's what it was called, acid blood. Anyway, so what does this do? When this model takes a wound in melee, the attacker takes X hits, in this case, 1 hit. So essentially, as they are being taken out, they also strike back, and it's a way to retaliate. Then for their curse, they have. Hold on. Oh, yeah, wait, sorry. We also need to look at their weapons. I forgot. For their curse, they have the Curse of Lust. Mark for rapid charge. Pick an enemy unit, and you get rapid charge against it. Rapid charge is +4 inches when using a charge action. So you already have your imagine you have your 12-inch charge. Then they have Lust Blessing. Now suddenly we're looking at a 14-inch charge. Imagine they have Supreme Charge Blessing, so Supreme Lust Blessing. Now they're at 16. You give them this thing. Now they're at 20. So that's a pretty long charge. For their special weapon, they have perfect weapons, which have the shatter rule. Shatter ignores regeneration, and on one roll on blocks of one, they deal an extra hit. We forgot to check that out for the change demons, and they get hexed weapons, which have pierce on unmodified results of 6 to hit that aren't blocked. The weapon deals an extra wound. All right, nice. All right, let's take a look at Plague Demons. So, Plague Demons, they get the Plague Blessing, take a wound, ignore it on a 6 up. Then they can get the Banner of Plague, which gives them Rending in melee, which Rending ignores regen, and on a 6, you get AP4. The Gift of Plague, which is Fortified Growth. This growth is a new thing in the game. Basically, you place a marker on the unit at the beginning of each round after they were deployed, right? Up to 2 markers, and enemies get AP -1 per marker. So you can get AP -2 on enemies. Just great. You basically neutralize great weapons and stuff like that. Okay, and of course, if you're ever shaken, then you lose all your markers. And for the curse, they get the Curse of Plague, which is a difficult terrain debuff. So you pick an enemy unit, and it counts as being in difficult terrain. For their weapon, they get the infected weapons, which have the Butcher rule. Butcher on unmodified results of 6 to hit. It deals 2 extra hits. Cool. That is Plague. Now we look at War. War, they have the War Blessing. We've seen this before, of course, which is that, within when you're charging or within half range, enemies that block, the enemies that roll 1 to block hits take 1 extra hit. So more hits for you. Then some of them get the Piercing Fighter aura, essentially get AP +1 in melee. Then you have the Destructive Frenzy, Gift of War, which gives Destructive Frenzy, which is basically when you destroy units, you get +1 to hit rolls and AP +1 as you uh, 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 as you kill more units. And then they have their curse. What is their curse? The Curse of War. You mark for Slayer. Very nice. So pick an enemy unit within 18 inches. Friendly units get Slayer against it. Slayer is if the unit has tough 3 or higher, you get AP +2 against it. So that's nice. And then finally, their weapons are blood weapons, which have the break rule. On a 6 to hit, those hits get AP3. So almost like mini great weapons. Okay. Moving on to Sorans. Sorans essentially unchanged from before. Predator was renamed to Primal. Now every unit has Primal, and the Geckos don't have Fearless anymore. Primal on a 6 to hit, you roll an extra attack. Then we have units with Primal Roar, which gives Supreme Primal buff. So you get it. You get extra attacks on 5s or 6s. Stuff that we know and love. For their other stuff, you have Sacred Destiny, which is a protection feat. So once per game, all models with this rule may ignore wounds on rolls of 5 up. Okay, pretty nice. And then the hold on. Where do they have their yes? And then we have Spot Prey, which is marked for Bane. Pick an enemy unit, and friendly units get Bane against it. Bane is the new poison, right? So ignores regen, and they must reroll 6s. And for their special weapons, they have Obsidian weapons. Obsidian weapons have Disintegrate. Against units where most models have defense 2 up, this weapon gets AP3. So obsidian weapons are great against, defense 2 up monsters and those crazy units like that. Okay. Then Shadow Stalkers. Shadow Stalkers. So they get the Shadow Strike rule. When you shoot at enemies within half range or you charge them, unmodified results of 6 to hit that aren't blocked deal an extra wound. That makes them pretty strong. Then so before every unit had access to the shadow sensor, right, which is repelling ambushers. We know and love this. Now different units also get access to different potential sensors. So the scourging sensor gives you supreme shadow strike, so extra wounds on hits of 5 and 6. Then hold on. The Soul Hunter sensor gives you designate for piercing attacks, for precision attacks. Sorry. So you pick a unit, and then friendly units get +1 to hit against them. Okay. And then we have some units that get the. Where is it? The Labyrinthian sensor, which is marking for unpredictable fighter. So you pick an enemy unit within 18 inches. Enemies that attack it, friendlies that attack it, get unpredictable fighter, which basically means in melee, roll a die. On a 1 to a 3, you get AP1. On a 4 to a 6, you get +1 to hit. For their special weapons, they have splinter weapons, and splinter weapons have the fragment rule. On unmodified results of 1 to block, the weapon deals 2 extra hits. Cool. All right, we're almost at the end already. Sky City Dwarfs. Sky City Dwarfs. So their thing is Buccaneer. Buccaneer. They get +1 to hit rolls when shooting at enemies over half of the weapon's range or when charging. With their short little 9-inch pistols. That means keep the enemy far. Don't you? Yeah, don't be too close to the enemy. But do your best. Okay, so what do they have? They get expert crew, which gives them versatile reach. So when the unit activated, pick one effect. Either they get +6-inch range when shooting, or +3-inch range when charging. Interesting. So now they can kind of, they can be a little bit faster, or shoot a little bit further, and stuff like that. Then we have units that get the Ether Cloud Generator, which basically is a casting debuff. So pick an enemy unit with caster, it gets -1 to casting rolls. Um, mm, mm, mm. And then we have the Broadside Barrage on the various gunboats, which gives them Supreme Buccaneer. So they get +2 to hit from the Buccaneer rule. So at a distance, which is also pretty nice. Finally, for their special weapons, they have. Where are they? They have Ether Guns. Ether Guns have the Scratch rule. Against units where most models have Tough 3, the weapon gets AP1. So it's a good sort of like monster hunting weapon. Okay, then we have Vampiric Undead. All right, we're getting to the end. Vampiric Undead. Vampiric Undead are also interesting. So they get the Cursed Undead rule. When taking a wound, roll 1 die. On a 6-up, it is ignored. So they're one of the undead armies that can actually like ignore wounds. Then you have. Let me find it now. Okay, so vampires, that's the ones. Some models now get Twisted Seduction. Twisted Seduction gives mind control. So pick an enemy within 18 inches. It must take a morale test. If failed, you may move about to 6 inches in any direction. So you kind of control them. Then we have units that get the okay, yeah, this is actually interesting how it changed. Corpse Masters. Drain leader. Yes. So let me take a quick look. So yes, you do have some models that have commander, which gives you no retreat, right? So we know that we have found a way to give you no retreat if you still want it. But Corpse Master now come in 2 variations. So you have the general Corpse Master rule, which is actually on different units, which gives you Supremely Cursed Undead, so you ignore wounds on 5 or 6 from Cursed Undead. This is not regeneration, so they can't be ignored. But also, you can get a Supreme Corpse Master, which gives you Reanimation. Reanimation works like this. When a unit where all models have this rule is activated, you roll as many dice as the max number of models / wounds it could restore. For each 5-up, you may restore 1 model or wound. So basically, they allow your guys to reanimate. Of course, this only happens when you activate. So it's not as good as regen in the sense that, regen only works once, but it happens immediately, and so it can help you survive. Whereas if your unit is wiped, it's wiped. But if it's not wiped, then the Supreme Corpse Master comes in here. And what else? No, we looked at the Corpse Master. We looked at the Supreme Corpse Master. We looked at the Mind Control. Yeah, it's just missing the weapons. And their weapons are cursed weapons. Which basically, you know what? We have a bunch of cursed weapons. Let me see. taking a note. Let me see if I can rename some cursed to something more interesting across the board. All right, cursed weapons. Yeah, cursed weapons get the whack rule. On unmodified results of 1 to block hits, this weapon deals 2 extra wounds. Pretty strong. And this is basically on your skeletons. Yeah, one important thing, skeletons do not have fortified anymore. It basically kind of made it hard for them to fit with other units and stuff like that. So instead, they now have well, they have whack, which makes it pretty strong and different. All right, cool. Volcanic Dwarves. Volcanic Dwarves. What do they have? They have the Drake Sworn rule. This is interesting. So they get plus 6-inch range when shooting. Simple. And they move plus 3-inch when using charge actions. So usually your dwarves, because of the slow rule, right? Instead of moving 6 and 12, they move 4 and 8. But since they are Drake Sworn, instead of moving 4 and 8, they move 4 and 11. So from the onset, you have fast charging dwarves. They're not fast moving, they're not fast rushing, but they are fast charging, which is an interesting interaction here. Then some units have Oath of Wrath, which gives them Supremely Drakesworn, which means that they shoot at 12 inches, but actually they charge plus 6 inches. So it means that instead of being 4 and 8, instead of being 4 and 11, they are 4 and 14. So really long charging. Well, for a dwarf, really long charging dwarves. Then, so that's the Oath of Wrath. Then we have some units that get the where is it? That get Fury Protection, which is a versatile defense buff. So basically, you pick a friendly unit and it can either get +1 to defense or ignore wounds on rolls of 6. Depending on who you're facing, it might be better or worse. So, for example, if you're facing a unit with a lot of AP, then maybe getting +1 to defense roll, it's not going to really make a big difference. But if if you're defending against AP2, AP3, AP4 weapons, you might be better off just ignoring wounds rather than trying to get more defense. And then you also get Doom Call. Doom Call is marking for a retreating strike. So pick an enemy unit within 18 inches, which friendly units get retreating strike against. So when a friendly unit charges, when a friendly unit fights in melee, if it ends its retreating move within 3 inches of this unit, then roll as many dice as models, and for each 6-up, they take 1 hit with AP1. So you can do interesting combos, right? Where like you have your extra long charge to like you doom call a unit that's near another unit, you charge one, after that melee you retreat near the other unit, and now you strike that unit, and you kind of get this crazy berserker flurry. Finally, looking at their special weapons, it is lava weapons. So lava weapons have the pulverize rule. Pulverize ignores cover, and on unmodified results of 6 to hit, the weapon gets AP4. So it's it's, if you're lucky, it will allow you to destroy pretty much anything. And all right, finally, we move on to the Wood Elves, our last army for today. The Wood Elves, they get the Wild Hunt rule. Wild Hunt is when this model is deployed, it may be placed anywhere fully within 9 inches of its position. So essentially, your whole army can immediately move forward. This matters to you because, of course, Wood Elves like to be in terrain. And now we look at a bunch of rules that they have. So they have Glow Fairy Dust. Some units have Glow Fairy Dust, which gives them covered defense. So whilst most models are within 1 inch of terrain, they get +1 to defense rolls. Okay, cool. So move forward, be in terrain or near terrain, and then you get +1 defense. Some units get the Heartwood Defender rule, which is covered precision, which basically is whilst most models are within 1 inch of terrain, you get +1 to hit rolls. So again, move forward, get into terrain, and use that. And then some models have the Hunting Lure, which basically is marking for advanced strike. So pick an enemy unit within 18 inches, and you get advanced strike against it. So friendly units that end their advance or rush action within 6 inches of them, roll as many dice as models. and you deal hits. This is good, for example, if you have a unit that's just slightly out of range. Maybe you want to like move close and already get some hits in, or maybe you have a shooting unit that ended up close to an enemy, and then you can be like, okay, look, we're gonna move, deal those hits, and then shoot, and do that. Okay, that was their three things. Finally, for their special weapons, they have the hunting bows or hunting style weapons, which give them slash. Slash ignores cover, and on unmodified results of 6 to hit, the weapon deals 1 extra hit. So more hits for you. And that is the Wood Elves. With that, we have taken a look at everything. Yes, okay, I'm gonna do the following. I'm gonna put a Q&A starts here. I'm gonna put a line in the chat. I'm gonna then answer everything that's under that thing, under that line. And actually, this was pretty fast. Sorry. The beta is gonna go live after. We need to push it through, but the beta is gonna go live after this stream ends. There's also gonna be a post about it on the website and so on and so forth. There will be a special section in our Discord, which will have a forum with a lot of threads, a different thread for each army. Make sure to give us your feedback there. Ideally, what we're looking for is concise feedback, bullet points. Make sure that it's easily understandable, because we're reading through a lot of them. Ideally, don't just give us your feelings. Play things, try them out, then let us know how things went. There's also gonna be a separate channel, which is for fan discussion. There you can chit chat as much as you want about whatever, but that channel is not officially being checked by us. It's just there for you guys to talk amongst each other. So all the feedback needs to be in the feedback threads. That's where we are registering the feedback. Age of Fantasy is going to be available, and Age of Fantasy Skirmish, of course. One big thing: the guilds from Age of Fantasy Skirmish will not be available as of now. They will only come later during the beta phase. And yeah, okay, that's it with that. Let me. Okay, cool. So let's do a short Q&A, and then we will go and push the stuff. Shouldn't tag for piercing on high elves be marked for? No. A mark is different. A mark. So tagging for piercing essentially can stack, whereas a mark cannot stack. So you could tag a unit multiple times. It could get multiple tags from piercing, and then for each one that you remove, you get the bonus. Whereas a mark is just like, hey, once, next time it happens, that's when it happens. So for example, a mark has to be used when it's activated, whereas a tag doesn't have to be. So for example, you might want to tag a unit, and then it gets charged by some swarm, and then you're like, I'm not gonna waste my special tag for on the swarm, but instead, then when another unit shoots it, then you spend your tag. So I hope that makes sense. Hazardous is a great rule. Can you please put it on some of the Grimdark Future army books? Yes, it is available on the Ratman army book. Which faction was the next for AOF? I guess you mean for minis. And I think I gave a hint last time. How can I put it? Let's say once you find out what it is, it will make sense. Why did Mummified Undead lose cursed ammo when Unstoppable has become more available in Grimdark Future? They lost cursed ammo because instead now they have the cursed rule. I think it's that. Yeah, whatever. Which basically gives them, ignores cover, and also another effect. So that's what I wanted to do. I am not sure about bringing Unstoppable into fantasy right now, or at least not widely available. I think now that Unstoppable is being rethought, we need to properly think about it. Essentially, so this year's big update is the army rules update. So that's what you're seeing now. And my plan is for the next year, so for the 2026 patch, the v3.6, I suppose, it will be the weapons update. And as part of the weapons update, we will basically look at the overall balance of weapons across the board, and then see where does it make sense to bring in some special rules like Unstoppable on more stuff. For example, Unstoppable now does not specify that it's for shooting anymore. It's just a general thing, so it could be placed on melee weapons. So that's an interesting thing. What did you find easier to make? The changes for Grimdark Future armies or the fantasy armies? Uh, Different. I will say definitely fantasy was easier because it was done after Grimdark, and it was Grimdark where I really had to solve all the problems and figure everything out and then go back and forth and redo things and whatever. And then also like in the app, like I had to set up all the new special rules and write everything and all that stuff. Whereas then fantasy was very much like, okay, like this army gets this rule and this army gets this rule, and it was just kind of like it was just implementation in many ways. So that was definitely easier. For all those against where units where most models have tough 3 rules, does that mean exactly tough 3 or tough 3 or more? It means exactly tough 3. Uh, which factions do you think would draw the most attention for demo tables? I think it's really. Sorry. I think it's really not a matter of rules. I think really it's more a matter of like looks. Um, it it depends on your community. Saurians we know are a very popular army. Mummified Undead are popular. Empire is always popular. Ratman are always popular. There's a bunch of armies that are great to um, do a demo. So like if you did Mummified Undead versus Saurians, I am sure people will stop at your table and play a demo with you. Has there been any internal discussion about the naming format of keywords? The flavor name being different is nice, but the mechanical name having no relation to the actual mechanics is confusing. Um, I mean, yes. The thing is, you have to understand that um, we had to name. I don't even know the exact math of it. I had to name a bunch of stuff because we had to name all the new rules, change the rules conventions on the names, add new rules, give those names, add all the names for the weapon rules. Then for each army, find a different flavor for each rule. Then go and do the same. Like it was a huge job. So I am sure that there are instances where you might not find that the flavor and the um, rule maybe make 100% sense to you, which very valid feedback. Put it in the thread. Like, let us know. Like, hey, I feel like this rule it's called this, but this is the effect that doesn't really make sense. Maybe what about this or that name, and stuff like that. And we might consider it. Are you expecting any major changes happening overall for this patch? So, if you have not been following along with the Grimdark beta, yes, we expect to be doing changes and updates all the time. Honestly, right now, we did a patch after the weekend this morning, which changed how those rules work, which say, when you target an enemy within half of your weapon's range, or over half of your weapon's range, then X happens. And yeah, we're basically noticing that is leading to a bunch of weird situations. So we're probably rethinking that and changing that, and then it would change across both games. Overall, I mean, besides point cost being busted, I I mean, maybe I'm overly confident, but I don't think that fantasy will require anywhere near as many changes and updates as Grimdark did. Because a lot of the lessons that we learned from Grimdark were immediately then applied to fantasy. So all those problems have already been solved, let's say. All right. I keep wondering whether there are too many bonuses to AP. I get the impression that armor might become too weak and not effective enough. It depends. So actually, the fantasy games have or the fantasy armies have way less AP across the board than the sci-fi games. And actually, one of the common complaints we get is like there is not enough AP in fantasy, especially if I'm dealing with monsters. So yes, there are more effects that give AP, but also there are more effects that now just give hits or +1 to hit and stuff like that. But there's also more effects that give minus AP. There are more effects that give -2 hit, and more effects that allow you to ignore wounds and stuff like that. So um, I don't think that there are too many bonuses to AP now, but honestly, we need to keep playing and keep testing and then figure it out together. When you change rule stuff, do you also consider the lore implications? Yes, but usually it's the other way around. Wait. Uh, I mean, yeah, I guess they go hand in hand, right? So if there's been plenty of time where we had a rule with a certain name on an army that made sense, and then we decided to change that rule, and then we changed the name of the rule because it was like, okay, this does not like this name does not make thematic sense anymore with that rule, and the other way around as well, where it was like, okay, we had this idea for a theme for a rule, and then we're like, okay, let's find the rule that fits this lore name. Will you ask the partner creators to revamp their armies? No, they can do whatever they want with their armies. One important thing is this is a general thing. There's a big project that we're doing in the background, which basically is that a lot of stuff has been renamed, which is easy, but also there are certain rules that were in the game before that have been removed. So one of the big things that we are doing in the in the in the background and what we're preparing for the final switching of the patch is essentially have some sort of system where all custom made armies will have their rules updated to the nearest thing. So for example, oh, I don't know, now I cannot think of anything. So oh, let me try and think. uh Trying to think of a rule that was okay. So, for example, let's say we had a rule before in the game which was called Advanced Tactics, which basically was like pick a friendly unit and that unit moves 6 inches. Maybe we would say, okay, we will auto replace all those rules with a fast buff. So it's like, hey, pick a unit, a friendly unit, and that unit gets fast. And so that way it's like, okay, your armies are not immediately broken. If you feel like that's not really what I want anymore, you can go and change it. But it was automatically changed to something relatively close to what you had before. So we will not ask anyone to revamp their armies. Their armies will be automatically updated, and then people can do whatever they want. Have you seen Planet Shark minis and any ideas to close proxy into for OPR? Not sure. Maybe I don't know them by name exactly, but I've seen their stuff. I'm not sure. Do these all trickle down into wave stats for Age of Fantasy Quest? Yes. This is actually really cool. So I've been playing around with that, and having these army rules really adds to Quest for me. Like it's very cool because before you had a party, for example, okay, you're playing the you're playing Quest with some standard heroes, and it's like, oh, I have a Saurian, I have a Beastman, and I have a human, right? Let's say you take these 3 heroes um, from the base or whatever. You have a Ratman. Actually, that's a better example. You have a Ratman, you have a Beastman, and you have a human. These are from the basic pack of minis that you get on the Patreon for Quest. And before it was okay, you have those 3 guys, and yeah, sure, they might change their class, but otherwise they're kind of the same-ish thing. Whereas now it's like, okay, like sure, the different classes do change the models, but also, oh, the Ratman gets extra tracks on a 6. The human gets +1 to morale, and the Beastman gets enemies must reroll 6s. So it's like not like now they actually feel like 3 different species that are fighting alongside each other, and each species has kind of like their bonuses. And it feels really cool. I have to say, I think this trickles down to Quest in a beautiful way. Um, will war fleets get similar types of conditional rules? Not as of now. We're not updating war fleets right now. Will there be any guidance posted on how to give effective feedback? I, no. I want to give a general advice, but at the same time, I don't want to restrict people too much. Like sometimes I feel like very efficient feedback can miss some of the human element that sometimes it's important as well. So that's the thing. So the content of the feedback ideally should be like, hey, if you are giving me your thoughts on an army that you played and you're just talking about one army, maybe just let me know in bullet points. Hey, this was good, this was good, this was medium, this was bad, and maybe a short why. Don't make it too long. Like it should be something that ideally I can parse through and be like, yes, 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 yes. Okay, let me take a note here. Let me take a note there. Awesome. Thank you very much. If you're posting also like a battle report or whatever, please let us know which armies are fighting who. Maybe like what were some unit highlights and stuff like that. And that would be important as well. Yeah, another thing that's very helpful is like, please let us know what you are referring to. Like, I see people sometimes say like, oh, this rule was really busted because my unit suddenly could do this, and I'm like, okay, but like there's 5 units in that army that can take that rule. Which unit was it that took that rule and was busted? Um, Stuff like that. I don't know if this was ever talked about, but are there any plans for sub factions? Kind of like what brothers have, but for all armies. Not as of right now. Honestly, detachments slash sub factions are a little bit of a nightmare. And so I'm not looking forward to potentially adding that for every army. I don't know. I for now definitely not. Uh, I like that everything's changing a bit, but I think there are some armies whose abilities have been tweaked to please people coming from other games. Couldn't this end up losing the essence? I'm not sure exactly which armies you're referring to. Please provide feedback in the feedback threads. I don't think this loses essence. I think this gives a lot of essence. Because, like I said before, a lot of armies felt like, you had your basic Ratman infantryman, which is, 5 up, 5 up hand weapon. Okay. You have your basic human infantry, 5 up, 5 up hand weapon. Okay. You have your basic, like you had all these basic infantry units, which were all the same. And now it's like, okay, this one has this one has this one has this. And it's like, ooh, now it's getting interesting. Okay, cool. I see that these were all the questions posted so far. Thank you, everyone, for coming to my TED Talk. I am going to go ahead and update a couple of things. Then we are going to push the patch through, and then we are going to make an announcement and put the various threads and chats live. And yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, enjoy the beta. Let me know your feedback